So very good morning all. So strength is very less today. So only 64 are present out of 170. Will you please turn on your videos, all of you? Hello. Please turn on your videos once. Good morning, students. Please respond with voice or at least text message so that you are present in the class. Okay, we'll straight away go ahead. Already it is 11:35. Shall I wait for more 5 minutes? 66 members are present out of 3 sections. Very less strength. So welcome back to the class of global positioning system. So we have So as of now, I'm muting you all. If at all you have any doubt, you can raise hand so that I'll unmute you. So we have started off with the introduction to the GPS. We have seen the basic navigation steps in the very beginning class. Then after we have been studying about the GNSS overview, Global Navigation Satellite Systems. In that we have seen the 3 types of GNSS systems. They are GPS, GLONASS and Galileo. So let me open the slides. So can somebody help me in finding out what are the topics that are completed in our previous class? So we have completed GPS, right? We have seen the GPS architecture. So this thing in the very beginning class we completed navigation techniques. There are 5 navigation techniques. In the GNSS we have started off with the GPS and so we have been learning about the GPS orbits and also we learned about the GPS signals. L1 carrier and L2 carrier with base frequency F0. And why we are using 2 signals is compensation for the propagation delays. This also answered. And we are using a multiplexing technique here. So navigation signal. Is this completed in our previous class? Somebody please respond. For the navigation signal. Okay. Only one person says yes, one person says no. Same person says. Navigation signal, not explained. Okay, right. I'll take up this part. So code division multiplexing, I think I have explained, right? CDM. Okay, about GPS signals we have seen. GPS signals. CDM completed? Because after break we are meeting. Code division multiplexing, is it completed? Or shall I start from there? Okay, before we see all these details, uh, let us understand why we are studying this subject. The main objective of the subject is to track the objects, that is called as the navigation process. So to locate and track the objects, whether they are stationary or non-stationary or in the movement, course of movement, we have to track the objects. And for this purpose, we are using GNSS, that is Global Navigation Satellite Systems, where some of the satellites are revolving around the Earth in some specified orbits, and out of them, 4 satellites information is enough for us for tracking an object. And before we see the theoretical details, let me show you one video. Please go read this video, watch this video clearly. How the GPS is working is very clearly explained here. Is this not audible? It is audible to me from my end. Is this a problem with a single person or all? No, it is audible. Audio is also there. It's not audible. Now you check out. Not audible. Okay, I'll remove this. Now is this audible? I'm using the system audio. Is it still not audible? Is it still not audible? It's okay. I will share this video afterwards, after some time to you. No problem. We'll go ahead. What is there in the video with the class, right? Okay. So I'll give you the link of this video in the class groups. You can go through it very clearly. So this is the procedure. The architecture of the GPS can be understood like this. So this is at the center we have Earth, and around the Earth there are 6 orbits. As far as the GPS is concerned, there are 6 orbits. In the 6 orbits, in each orbit, around 4 satellites are present. 6 into 4, 24 satellites are present, and these 24 satellites are continuously revolving around the Earth. So that and Earth also revolves around it. Earth also revolves around it. So any part of the Earth is visible to the satellites, minimum 4 satellites. And the procedure to calculate the position, that is longitude and latitudes of a particular object on the Earth, is explained in the next slide. And for that, visibility of minimum 4 satellites is enough for us. Visibility of minimum 4 satellites is enough for us, and for that purpose we use a technique called as the triangulation technique. We'll learn that in the future course. And this is the visualization of the GPS system. So how many satellites are visible is very clearly given as a number. Number of visible satellites is 8, 9, 10, that is varying to a particular object. That is the blue dotted object is this. So to that, how many satellites are visible along with the time proceeds. So this is important to understand the working of the GPS here. Is this okay? Shall I move to the next slide? Say yes or no. The visualization of the how GPS works. Okay, so the procedure is here. So at least 24 operational satellites in one orbit. These all details we have already seen in the previous class. So around 11.56 half sidereal day hour, that is around 12 hours we have taken, and 11,000 miles above the Earth. And for the time calculation purpose, we are using the atomic clock. For the time calculation purpose, we are using the atomic clock. And why we are using atomic clock is the calculation of the time on the Earth is different. That is, the revolution of the Earth around itself will take 24 hours. Depending on that, the time is measured and the time is calculated on the Earth. But when we go to the space, the space-time is different. The space-time calculation is different. There is so many planets are present and so many stars are present, and in the space we are using 24 satellites, and those 24 satellites are calculated, their time is calculated with respect to the UTC, that is. So receiver needs to determine the distance to the 4 satellites and to determine the 3-dimensional position. And how does the receiver determine its distance from each satellite? So for this purpose, we have already defined the pseudo-random code, PRN codes, in our previous class. So what is a pseudo-random code? Pseudo-random code is a code which will be sent by each satellite, and that information is already present at the receiver. That information is already received, is present at the receiver system. So when a receiver receives a system from a satellite, and its PRN code will be decoded, and depending on that, it could able to detect from which satellite the signal is received. And very simple formula here. to calculate the distance. Our ultimate aim is to calculate the distance of an object from a given satellite. So we use high school physics that distance is equal to speed into time. And what is the speed here? The speed here is the speed of the light, because we are sending the RF signals. The RF signals are already having the speed that is equivalent to the speed of the light that we already know. So speed into time of travel. Time of travel is calculated by the atomic clock, and that will give us the distance. So how to determine the time here? That is, it is determined by the universal coordinated universal time. That is, by tracking the 4 or more satellites, and each satellite transmits a unique pseudo-random code that is at extremely precise time intervals. So what is the process going on here is, each satellite will send a pseudo-random code along with the carrier of its own to a position on the Earth, and at the fixed position we will keep one GPS receiver, and the GPS receiver, whenever it receives that signal, it will demodulate it and detect the what kind of pseudo-random code is sent by that, and based upon that it knows the position of the satellite. It knows the position of the satellite. Once the position of the satellite is known, after calculating its time, so time into speed will give us the distance of a particular object. And this is done by the 4 satellites, minimum of 4 satellites. So exactly finding or locating of the longitudes and latitudes is enough if 4 satellites are sending the signals, 4 different signals. This is how a GPS works. So this is all I explained. And before we go to the GLONASS, is a second type of GNSS satellite system. We'll see the theoretical details of the we will come back. So GPS orbits, there are 24 satellites, sometimes 28 are there, which are inclined at 55 degrees related to the equator and are separated from each other by the multiples of 60 degrees in the right ascension. Sidereal day, half sidereal day, 11.967 hours exactly, that is approximated to 12 hours. In the previous slide it was given. So all of them are non-geostationary, and they are non-geostationary. That means geostationary means the period of rotation of the each satellite around the Earth, if it takes 24 hours, which is the revolution period of the Earth around itself, then that satellite is called as the geostationary. That means it looks stationary from wherever we sit on the Earth and look. But these 24 satellites are not geostationary, they are non-geostationary and nearly elliptical. They are not elliptical, nearly elliptical. And what kind of signals are sent by the GPS? The GPS signals will use 2 types of signals. One is the L1 signal and another one is the L2 signal. So L1 signal is of 1575.42 megahertz and L2 signal with a carrier frequency of 1227.63 megahertz. And these carrier frequencies are calculated by the fundamental frequency or base frequency F0. F0 is equal to 1.023 megahertz. F0 into 1540 will give us the F1 carrier frequency, and F0 into 1200 will give us the F2's carrier frequency. So these are the frequencies that are used by the RF signals from each satellite, and each satellite will send L1 and L2 carrier signals. And the modulation technique used is the BPSK, binary phase shift keying. It is modulated by, already told, pseudo-random noise codes. And that pseudo-random noise code is of 2 types. One is in phase and another one is the out of phase. And each code is called as C by A code and another code is called as the P code. So why we use the 2 types of signals L1 and L2 is the delay is proportionate, inversely proportional to the square of the frequency. The delay is proportional to the square of the frequency. So to estimate the how much delay occurred for each signal from the satellite to the object or GPS receiver, we use the two frequencies. The measurable differential delay between the two carrier frequencies can be used to compensate for the delay in the each carrier. So how much delay exactly occurred, if you don't know, then we take the two carrier signals. And here, to know from which satellite, because there are 24 satellites are present in the GPS, from which satellite the signal is received, we will use the pseudo-random noise code and in the form of the code division multiplexer. So it allows the users independent access to multiple GPS satellite signals on the same carrier frequency. The signal transmitted by a particular GPS signal can be selected by the generating, matching, and correlating the pseudo-random noise code for that particular satellite. This information is already present at the receiver. So whenever a signal comes, that will match and that will correlate. I think this is already completed, right? Okay. And all pseudo-random noise codes are known and generated are stored in the GPS satellite signal receivers. That is at the ground position. So it is a relatively short, coarse-grained code having an associated clock or chip rate of f0 is equal to 1.023 megahertz. That is C/A code. About the details of the C/A code. Coarse acquisition code. C/A code means coarse acquisition code. And this code is having a clock rate of 1.023 megahertz. All in the radio frequency ranges. And the P code is having a length of 259 days. The portion of P code is used for the GPS, for a given GPS satellite has a length of precisely 1 week before this code portion repeats. So each code will repeat. The repetition interval for the P code is the 7 days. And for the C/A code is 1.023 megahertz frequency. And this is very faster compared to the P code. And the navigation signal. The L1 carrier and L2 carrier are the carrier frequencies. So we already know the modulation is the process of changing any of the characteristic of the carrier signal in accordance with the instantaneous values of the baseband signal or modulating signal. So what is the modulating signal here? That is called nothing but the navigation signal. So what is the navigation signal consisting of? The navigation signal consisting of the information about each satellite and its associated codes. So about the navigation signal we learn in detail in the unit 3, don't worry. So this bitstream includes the navigation information on the ephemeris of the transmitting GPS satellites and an almanac for the GPS satellites. So what is ephemeris, what is almanac, we all learn in our unit 3. So with the parameters providing approximate corrections for the ionospheric signal propagation delays suitable for the single frequency receivers and for an offset time between the satellite clock time and the true GPS time. So here we are using a clock time, that is atomic clock time, and GPS time. So if there is any error between the GPS time and the clock time, this is also being corrected by the navigation signal. In the process of receiving the GPS signal from the satellite, there are some choices of errors. One is called ionospheric error and another is called as the ephemeris error. So there is a separate unit called as GPS errors. There we will discuss all these things. So for correcting this, there is information. And the navigation information is transmitted at a rate of 50 baud. I think baud is the unit for the digital data rate. And here, this is very, very important concept. This we will come across again in the GPS receivers concept. Selective availability. So what is selective availability is, this GPS was first time designed by the US Department of Defense, that is DOD. Now, these GPS signals are restricted only for the uses of the Department of Defense, US, that is US military. And if any non-authorized users, if there is any non-authorized are interfering with the signals with a perception to thread this message, then this will use the selective availability. So selective availability is a combination of methods that are developed by the US DOT deliberately to derate the accuracy of the GPS for non-authorized users. For non-authorized users. So if any threat with an intention to cause threat, if anybody non-intended user or non-authorized user is coming, then it will derate. It will derate the accuracy. And measures may include the pseudo-random time dithering and a truncation of the transmitted ephemeris. So these all we will learn when we study the GPS receivers. As of now, what you understand is selective availability is a procedure to derate the signals of the unauthorized users. Unauthorized means non-US military signals. Because this was intended for the GPS. GPS was intended for the US military. Of course, this was withdrawn after the many requests by other country people, whoever wants to use the GPS in the year 2000. Next, it will use the precise positioning service. So what is precise positioning service? Is the full accuracy single receiver GPS positioning service provided to the United States and its military organizations. This service includes access to the unencrypted P code and the removal of any SA effects. So what is SA? Selective availability, just now we learned. Selective availability is a derating of the signal which is done by the US military purposefully for any unauthorized users. Now this is to be eliminated and this is provided by the PPS service of the GPS. And next service is the standard positioning service without the selective availability. So it provides the GPS single receiver positioning service to any user on a continuous worldwide basis. So this is without SA. Without SA means there is no derating of the signals is done and it can be used by the any user on the earth. So it is intended to provide the access only to the C/A code and L1 carrier. Please remember this. So standard positioning service without selective availability means it will access only to the C/A code and the L1 carrier. And the next service is standard positioning service with SA. So with SA means this is exclusively by the military purpose. So here horizontal position accuracy as declared by selective availability currently is advertised as 100 meters. Now this SA will derate the signal we turned. So how much degradation is done? If it is calculating in the horizontal distance, then that error is approximately 100 meters. And vertically it is approximately 156 meters. So this will be corrected by the authorized users. Unauthorized users cannot do that correction process. And the accuracy is 95% of the probability level. And the SPS, in addition to this, also guarantees the user specified levels of the coverage, availability, and reliability. How much coverage is there on the earth, and how many satellites are available, and how much reliable it is. This is all guaranteed by the SPS with the SCA facility. And this is how the GPS is working. Already seen this video. So for this purpose, this I already explained. GPS working. So in the GNSS overview, we have seen one is the GPS, second one is the GLONASS, and third one is the Galileo. These are the three different GLONASS GNSS satellites which are developed by three different countries. In fact, the GPS is by USA and the GLONASS is by the Soviet Union, that is Russia. So global positioning, global orbiting navigation satellite system. This is called GLONASS. GLONASS is, the full form of the GLONASS is Global Orbiting Navigation Satellite System. GPS is Global Positioning System. GLONASS is global orbiting navigation satellite system, and it is placed in the orbit by the Soviet Union. Of course, earlier it was called as Soviet Union, now it is called as Russian Republic. And how many satellites are used by this? This also uses the 24 satellites, but these are distributed approximately uniformly in 3 orbital planes. GPS uses how many orbital planes? 6 orbital planes. Remember this difference. And GLONASS uses how many orbital planes? Only 3 orbital planes. So in the GPS, in each orbital plane, how many satellites are there? 6 are there. In the GLONASS, how many are there? That is 8 satellites are there. There are 8 satellites. These are the differences. And each orbital plane has a nominal inclination of 64.8. In the GPS, how much it is? 55 degrees inclination from the equator. And in between each satellite, how much is there? 60 degrees was there. But here it is 120 degrees right ascension in between each satellite. These are the major differences to note down between the GPS and GLONASS. Are you getting able to find the differences between GPS and GLONASS? Say yes or no with your presence. How do I know with your presence, please? Right. And the GLONASS system will use the frequency division multiplexing. GPS is using the code division multiplexing, and the GLONASS is using the frequency division multiplexing. And uses the 2 carrier signals, that is L1 and L2, but here the operating frequencies are different. The operating frequency of F1 is 1.602 plus 9 kilohertz or 16 kilohertz gigahertz, and F2 is 1.246 plus 7 or 16 kilohertz, 1.246 gigahertz plus 7 kilohertz, and where K is a satellite number. So for each satellite, one number is given in this, that is from 0 to 23. Now numbering begins with 0, as we begin numbering in the any number system. And GLONASS orbits have the radius of very smaller compared to the GPS. So for GPS it was 26,000 kilometers, and for GPS GLONASS it is 25,510 kilometers. 25,510 kilometers, the radii of the each satellite. And revolution is about 8/17 of the sidereal day. The revolution period is 8/17 of a one sidereal day. For the GPS it is half of the sidereal day, but here it is 8/17 of the sidereal day. So GLONASS orbits are with a less radii, so it will take less time. That's why it is 8/17. Will complete the 17. GLONASS will complete the 17 revolutions, and GPS will complete the 16 revolutions around the Earth for every 8 days. So this is a comparison between the GLONASS and the GPS orbits. And what are the signals that are used by the GLONASS? What are the signals that are used by the GLONASS? So these frequencies will lie in the 2 bands, that is 1.597 to 1.617 gigahertz for the L1 signal, and for the L2 it is from 1240 to 1260 gigahertz. From 1240 to 1260 gigahertz. And the L1 code, there are two carriers, L1 and L2. So L1 code is modulated by a C/A code with a chip rate of 0.511 megahertz, and P code with a chip rate of 5.11 megahertz. So these numerics you have to remember. And the L2 code is modulated only by the P code. L1 code by C/A code and P code both, but L2 carrier is only by the P code. And the GLONASS satellites also transmit the navigational data at a rate of 50 baud. this data transmission rate of GPS and GLONASS is same, that is 50 baud. And because the satellite frequencies are distinguishable from each other, the P code and the CYA code are the same for each satellite because each of them is distinguishable with the pseudo-random noise codes. So they are same for the GLONASS and the GPS because they are unique. And the methods of receiving and analyzing the GLONASS signals are similar to methods of the GPS. Whatever tracking and decoding, the procedures are same as that of the GPS. And the GLONASS will never use the selective availability, whereas the GPS will use the selective availability. Selective availability technique is, once again I am repeating, it is a purposefully derating the unauthorized signals. This is not there in the GLONASS. Is this clear? Any doubts up to this? Any doubts, guys? So this is just an overview of the GPS and GLONASS. And next we have Galileo. So who developed the Galileo system? Galileo system was developed by the European Union, Europe, EU. GPS is by US, GLONASS is by Soviet Union, that is Russia, and Galileo is by the European Union. It's the third satellite-based navigation system under development, and its frequency structure and signal design is being developed by the European Commission's Galileo Signal Task Force. They have given a name, that is STF, Galileo Signal Task Force. So it is very recent, in the March 2001 it has been established, and the STF consists of experts those are nominated by the European Union member states and official representative of the national frequency authorities and experts from the European Space Agency. See, whenever a new technology comes, an alternative technology will be developed by the opposite countries. So there is always a war between the countries will happen. So US has developed GPS, and then Russia has developed GLONASS, and Galileo is concentrating on the considered by the European Union. And what are the services offered by the Galileo navigation services? This is very, very important. The first one is open service. Second one is the safety of life service. And third one is the commercial service. Fourth one is the public regulated service. And fifth one is the search and rescue. These are very specific to the Galileo navigation system. So what is open service? It provides signals for positioning, timing, free of direct user charge, and is accessible to any user equipped with a suitable receiver with no authorization required. See how open they are. That's why it is called as an open service. The Galileo system has no authentication required. Any user with a suitable receiver can use these signals. And in this respect, it is similar to the GPS L1 CYA code signal. But the OS will be of higher quality, consisting of the 6 different navigation signals on 3 carrier frequencies. There in the GPS L1, L2 only 2, but here it is using the 3 carrier frequencies. And OS performance will be at least equal to that of the motorized block IAF GPS satellites, which has begun in 2005. And OS applications will include the use of combination of Galileo and GPS signals. Both signals it will use, and thereby improving the performance in severe environments such as urban canyons and heavy waste stations, wherever there is some natural disasters will occur. In that case, a rescue management is required. For that purpose, we will use this Galileo system, which is an open source. And the second service provided by the Galileo is the Safety of Life Service, SOL. It is intended to increase the public safety by providing the certified positioning performance, including the use of the certified navigation receivers. So the users are airlines and transoceanic maritime companies. So these are the specific users who will use the SOL service. The IGNOS is one of the developed European system. It's a regional European enhancement of the GPS system. It will be optimally integrated with the Galileo SOL service to have the independent and complementary integrity information on the GPS and GLONASS satellite. Both GPS and GLONASS satellites will be used by this IGNOS. IGNOS is a system that is developed by the European Union for the purpose of the SOL. And to benefit from the required level of protection, SOL operates in the L1 band and E5 frequency. So here you can find a specific frequency called E5 bands reserved for the aeronautical radiation navigation service. This is exclusively by the European Union. So there is always a fight between the countries for the usage of the frequencies. So they have their own frequency, European Union, that is E5 band. And next one is the commercial service. Commercial means it can be used by the any users. The commercial service is intended for the applications requiring the performance higher than that of the offered by the open source. So open source means to any common user with a valid receiver. But commercial user means this is a charged one. So any specific users can purchase this. They have to pay the fee for the added value. So commercial service is implemented by adding the two additional signals to the open source signal chute. So open source signal chute will use L1 carrier, we said, right? To that it is adding two more signals. These are protected by the commercial encryption, and access protection keys are used in the receiver to decrypt the signals. So this is a very, very important point to note down. In the open source, there is no encryption and there is no decryption required, and there is no kind of any protection is provided. But as this is a commercial service, the users are purchasing or they are paying fee for using of this. It is providing a encryption technique and also the protection key, access protection key, which is only known to the specified users. It is not common, it is not general. Next, the evaluated service include service guarantees. It is a guaranteed service and precise timing, ionospheric delay models, local differential correction signals for very high accuracy positioning applications and other some specialized requirements. So please note down these points. Value-added services, we said. What are they? That is service guarantee, guaranteed service, precise timing, ionospheric delay models, and local differential correction signals for a very high accuracy positioning. And these services will be developed by the service providers, which will buy the right to use the two commercial signals from the Galileo operator. So here the commercial users have to purchase the services by the Galileo system. And the next one is the PRS, Public Regulated Service. So it is for the government authorized applications like police, coast guards, and customs people. And these signals also will be encrypted, and access by the region or the user group will follow the security policy rules that are applicable in that particular country, EU. The public radio service will be operational at all the times because it is a public, it is operational at all the times and in all circumstances, including the periods of the crisis, because it is an emergency service that is by the governments. So the major feature of the PRS is its robustness of its signals. Very simple, and which protects it against the jamming and spoofing. So about spoofing is a very it is done by the intended enemies. About that we'll learn in Unit 4. Of course, there will be jamming also done and spoofing also done. We will use anti-spoofing technique to overcome the spoofing. And finally, search and rescue. So it is Europe's contribution to the international cooperative effort on humanitarian search and rescue. It is not only for the EU, but for the entire world they are providing this service. It will feature near the real-time reception of the distress messages from anywhere on the earth, precise location of the alerts, multiple satellite detection to overcome the terrain blockage, and augmentation by the 4 LEO satellites and the 3 geostationary satellites in the that is a project name given, that is COSPAS SATSAT system. So what are the major specifications? It is precise location of the alerts, multiple satellite detection to overcome the terrain blockage. So terrain blockage means when a signal is being received from a satellite, some objects or some terrains will block that signal, even that is being detected by this signal. So for this purpose, it will use a LEO orbits and 3 geostationary satellites. In the GPS, there is no geostationary satellite, but here this will use 3 geostationary satellites. So signal characteristics include, it will use 4 types of signals: F navigation, I navigation, C navigation, and G navigation. And F navigation, I navigation are used by the open service, commercial service, and safety of life service. The I navigation signals contain the integrated information, while the F navigation signals do not contain. And C navigation signals are used by the commercial service, and G navigation signals are used by the PRS, public regulated service. This is all about the GPS. GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo. This is overall view, that is system architecture of the GNSS satellites, 3 satellites. Remember, in the syllabus only GPS and GLONASS overview is given, but Galileo is not given because it is still under the development process. But as a matter of information from the textbook, this Galileo is also I discussed. Any doubts, guys? Are you there in the class? Yes. Who is this? Your roll number? Jeevan. Okay. I will unmute you. Yes, Jeevan. Jeevan, you can unmute yourself and talk to me. Roll number Jeevan. I have given you access to unmute. You said you have having some doubt. Is it not you? Are you there in the class? Means you said yes there. Okay. Thank you for today's class. And tomorrow we'll actually board presentation is required to discuss that time and that is how user position is calculated, and for non-stationary or moving objects, how the velocity is calculated. That is very, very important. User position and velocity calculation. We'll find if it is possible to take on the board the next class. If not, we'll skip the topic. Mostly you will be presenting in the class offline, the near future. During that time, we'll discuss. We'll proceed further. Right? Thank you for today's class. I'm ending the session for today. Thank you all.